Well, good morning, folks. Uh, it's Wednesday morning or Tuesday morning here on the SR. We're going to try doing something a little different. We've been uploading one video a week and just doing the video on that day. We're going to try shooting different pieces each day of the week with what we're working on. And then we're still going to just upload one video a week. But I hope that gives you a little better idea of what we're doing here. Right now, I'm feeling just a little overwhelmed with the projects that I have going. Uh, Sometimes it feels like it's just a little too much. So I've got to kind of step back and take a breath. And it's like they say, you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So we're going to tackle one project at a time as best we can, but everything has its own time. We're gonna plant a succession row of sweet corn. Hopefully later today, after it dries out a little bit. We had this past weekend we had some torrential rains. Um, our quarter mile long, half mile long driveway has never been in real good shape. So yesterday I had a professional contractor come and look at that. He's supposed to give me an estimate on repair of that. I can blade it with my tractor, but it needs more than blading. It needs build up in some areas. And so he's supposed to be giving me a quote on doing that. And we'll see how that goes. I do have some concrete that I need to pour around some culverts to help rectify some erosion issues. Hopefully we'll get that done a little later this summer. I can do that. But we got to get the garden taken care of. We got to watch after our critters. Cows are doing good. We clipped off the pasture that they're in because the fescue was all gone to seed, and so we needed to get that down so they could get down to those warmer season grasses. And we've still got some fence to build, some areas that we need to rotate the cows to. We still got some trees to clear for silvopasture areas. We still got this fence to finish up around the house. So, and now we also additionally have to build some type of hay barn. I've done the math with my wife. The big pasture out here, we were originally gonna at least bale it once or twice, get enough hay bales to feed the cows through the wintertime. And we've done the math, and by the time we buy the equipment, and with the price of fuel right now, is just not economically feasible. It's more economically feasible to buy the hay. By the time you factor in the equipment we still need to buy, which is just a baler, but by the time you factor that in and then fuel and such for the tractor, and if you had a breakdown, that would just throw it all out of kilter. But by the time you bought the fuel and the baler, it's going to be more expensive than buying the hay at what it looks like current prices are going to be. So we're going to end up buying hay. So we've got to have a place to store all that hay. Even if we'd baled it, we needed a place to store all the hay. So, but we're going to keep plugging away here. We're going to give you some shots throughout the week and days. We'll still upload a video probably Thursday nights for the week, but it's going to be a kind of a conglomeration of what we've been doing each of the days. So you'll see what we're, maybe get a better picture of what we're actually doing the whole time. So hope you enjoy this. Please like and subscribe, and leave us some comments. If this isn't the way you want to see our content, or if you want to see some different content, let us know. Like I said, these are unscripted and they are unedited videos. We give you everything raw the way it happens. So we appreciate y'all watching. All right, folks, one of the things we're going to do today is we're going to take this hitch mechanism off this tractor and put the rototiller on, because we've got to till up another spot in the garden where we're going to plant some late sweet corn. And then we're going to till up a spot in the yard where Mama wants us to build her a new patio area, basically. So come along with us. We'll show you what it takes to put the rotary tiller on. Guys, I like to try to get this lined up as best I can. This is our rotary tiller. It is a made in the USA, King Cutter, 48-inch rotary tiller, PTO driven. This Kubota runs it really well. The only thing I would do on Kubota's part is change these. These turnbuckle ways of hooking and disconnecting your 3-point implements is just a pain in the butt. So we're going to disconnect this hitch, kind of show you how this goes, and we're going to put you on a time lapse. All right, so we got that off. That took us almost 10 minutes, I'd say. Now we're going to back up, get this hooked up. It'll take us a little while to do that too. So just hang on. Now the reason I back in so close is because these arms on these tractors are so short that you've got to actually move things forward and backward to get them to line up. We pull that out. Let's lower it down a little bit. And I'll get this other one hooked up first. And I always set this up where I can move it a little bit usually, but I didn't do that this time. So we'll lower this down a little more so we can rock this thing farther forward. And get that one on there. And we'll go around and get the other one on. Where's the pin?
I can see.
Drop this down a little more. Check it again. No. You just ain't got enough of it. And the pin. Now, some folks have hooked this up first. What I do is get all this lined up, and then I'll pick it up with these arms, and it'll tip back so I can line that up, and then I'll adjust it. So, we're going to hook it up now. All right, folks, as you can see, that it takes a little bit of time to do. I wish Kubota would redesign that or something. It just takes entirely too long to hook those up. On a conventional 3-point tractor, I'd have done that in half the time. That I'm pretty sure of. I was looking, and it looks like we got a roll pin that has crept out here. So we're gonna have to go up to the shop and get a hammer, drive that roll pin back in. Always use a brass hammer for things like this. You know, if there's something that you could hit in there with your hammer that you could damage, the brass hammer will take the damage instead of damaging your part. So we're gonna drive this in. I don't know why that crept out. We may need to pull that back and spread that roll pin out a little bit, but for now, that should do what we need to do. After I put my tools away. Folks, if you've seen any of the videos of my shop in the past, excuse me, you know that I'm pretty bad about putting my own daggone tools away. I lay them on the workbench, I lay them on work tables in there. Right now, everything's pretty much put away. Spent a day out here doing that and got things cleaned up a bit. Problem is, my son, him and his significant other have decided that they're going to be gypsies, for lack of a better term. And they've gone out to Idaho to be camp hosts at Sawtooth Mill in Sawtooth Canyon, Idaho. He's loving every minute of it, and it sounds like she is too. But he brought me all of his tools to store for him, and so now I've got to do a little reorganizing in there so I can get things up and out of the way and be able to work in there like I need to. We're gonna go check his garden real quick. I think it's still a little too wet.
folks, it is still a little wet out here. Busting that up like that'll help it dry out. I don't know how good it's going to be because they do have a chance of thunderstorms for us this afternoon, and that western sky is clouding up a little bit. But the nice thing about doing this, when I did it, there's things you see out there in the garden. All right, folks, this is what our sorghum patch kind of looks like. Glad none of it got washed out in that torrential rains. That creek, there's a creek that comes down along just the other side of this patch. But if you look out there, you can row that sorghum up pretty good. Show them the rows. Walk on down. That way. Probably in another week here, we're going to need to be cultivating that. And I can cultivate that cane until it gets as high as the bottom of this tractor. And I can cultivate it with this tractor. I have a cultivator that I made to go on the hitch system back here. Don't take near as long to put it on as it does to put the hitch system on. But we'll show you all that when we get to that part. We got another project we got to work on up in the yard, so we're going to go head up there to do that. But we're going to give you a shot going back up there of the Highland cows out in the pasture eating. Folks, I think those are some happy cows. They got some nice green grass out there that they're munching on, and they're really loving it. So we're gonna go back. We're gonna go up and work on our other project now.
After I show them the cows. There's some happy cows.
Okay, as part of the lovely fence project for the front yard, my wife wants to build a little patio fire ring area here, just outside of there. We've had it in the backyard, and we live in the middle of the woods in southern Missouri, folks.
And snakes got into it.
We get lots of copperheads, and it's kind of a pain in the butt to deal with them back there. So we're going to build a new fire ring area here and do some things to kind of prevent the snakes. We need to build the fire ring, and then we're going to put some rock around the outside of that, and then we're going to lay pavers down where our chairs are going to sit. She got some of these nice Adirondack chairs that she liked, so we needed them to sit solidly. We're going to set everything in sand, so we need to get rid of this grass. The best way I know to do that is till it up with the rototiller, and then we'll get that 190 running, and we'll scoop the dirt out, get a load of sand hauled in, and then put that in and level it. So here we go. All right, folks, what you can see is when you were watching that time-lapse video tilling this area up, there's quite a bit of rock there. Stony Ridge Farmer out out east thinks he got a lot of stone. He ought to come to the Ozarks. We have stone everywhere. You cannot dig anything without hitting stone. Elijah's got a big one there. We're going to let this dry out a little bit, walk through and pick the big ones out, and then I'll probably run over it again because I want to get it down a little deeper to put a good bit of sand in there. So stay tuned. All right, folks, so we've had a couple problems with this machine. Starter, for one thing, broke the nose cone off and broke the gear out. We've dug all them pieces out and put a new starter on. Other problem is we had a lot of rust inside the fuel tank. So we took it off, we've cleaned it out, rinsed it out good, and we've coated the inside with a little oil. Got to get it bolted on back on now. Got it set up there, and we're going to get it bolted on. Are you filming speed or?
Just normal.
So what I'm doing here is I'm turning the fuel on, even though there's no fuel in it. I get that turned on ahead of time. This thing will hold 40 gallons of gasoline. I got about maybe 11 gallons here. So that'll be enough to get us going. Make sure our tank's clean. Today's gas prices, that 40 gallon of gasoline is going to cost almost $100. So we don't use this tractor any more than what we have to. And that leads us to overuse that little Kubota because it does so good on fuel. Compared to this tractor. You can time lapse it. Okay, so this tractor has a kind of a unique fueling system. It sort of gravity feeds from that tank all the way along here up to this fuel pump. Then this pump pumps it back around behind the engine to the carburetor. We're going to go to the other side. I've taken the line off the carburetor over there. We're going to make sure that it's in neutral. We're going to crank it over till we get fuel coming out. And remember, always make sure a tractor's in neutral before you try starting it, even if you're sitting in the seat. So our fuel line's right here. We're going to crank this over until we get fuel coming out. Alright folks, we've got good fuel flow coming. So we're going to connect this fuel line back up. And we're going to uncap our exhaust. Now in case you're wondering, this tractor would originally had steel fuel lines. When I bought it, the motor was locked up. It wasn't worth rebuilding, but a fellow that I knew had an equivalent engine in a combine. I believe it's a Gleaner C. He had to change a few things from one engine to the other to put that in here, but knowing all the fuel lines were rusty, we cut them all and put rubber on. So now we're going to give her a flip and see if she'll start. You give her a little snort of go juice.
What's Nordigo juice?
This old tractor will just sit here and purr like a kitten. I can start using it again now. record you anytime. You could stop that anytime now.
I know.
And stop it. Alright, folks, well, this is dried up pretty good out here. We're going to till it up again, and then we're going to plant some late sweet corn.
Yay, I get to learn how to use it.
Well, we might have to plant this sweet corn by hand, because it's not wanting to turn. Do that. So Liza's about got this first row of corn planted. She got some of the seed a little close, some of it a little far apart. That's all right. And we'll be all right. Now you don't need to cover it up. Let me plant the other row first, and then we'll do that. All right, guys, I want to show you a little something. Liza's pretty proud of this. She convinced me to plant some sunflowers here in the garden. And if you look down through here, you can row those. They're all coming up. I believe we planted about 3 different varieties. Grow anywhere from, what was it, 2 feet tall to 16 feet tall.
Yeah, and
So
12 feet.
we'll see how this all turns out. We're gonna go over here and try a little experiment right now. As you can see, we do have a lot of weeding to do, which we're gonna do that after we're done planting. But we're gonna try planting some beans. I've got a package of beans for cooking from the Amish store, lima beans. And we're gonna plant them and see if they'll actually grow. We're gonna plant them over here in one of the raised beds. Now I don't know if these are gonna be bush beans or if they're gonna be
Butter beans.
no, I don't know if they're gonna be bush beans or if they're gonna be climbers. But we're gonna find out. We did plant some lima beans here, but we got very little germination. So, Liza, if you give me those, I'll start planting. Let's see what happens here. I have no idea how far apart to plant these. I've never planted them before.
So we'll just plant them an inch apart.
Yeah, something like that. I was afraid that was going to happen. The broccoli heads haven't gotten too off big. There was a ladybug. I need more seeds. Hmm. You want to plant the rest of them on the inside? Hang on. Okay. We'll kind of line the row out here. You can don't give you very many to plant. So go ahead and I'd say start right about here. Just cover them all up. Cover all these up back here. Alright folks, like I said, I don't know how that's going to work, but we're going to try it and find out. Alright, so folks, today's Thursday. It's the day that I usually drop a video. So you won't get today's projects until later on next week because it's Thursday morning. This is when I'll put all the clips together to create one video. So I guess you could call that editing. So maybe we do some editing. Anyway, I'll put those together and we'll drop those later today. We'll drop that video later today. So since I announced that we were going to do it this way, you've only seen us work probably a couple of days, I would imagine. It doesn't seem from watching that like we do very much. That's really not the case. We do quite a bit in those couple of days. We just don't film everything. As you can see from the video on the 190, it's still got a few problems there with the way it runs. I've determined that it is the carburetor, so I'm going to need to take the carburetor off of that and clean it out and get that back together and get it running. I'll shoot a video of me doing that with the carburetor.
we've got started on this other little project for patio where we broke up the sod here in the yard with the rototiller. As you can see, it just lots of projects, lots of unending projects. I don't know. Do you ever really retire? I retired, and farming has always been my desire and passion. But you work 7 days a week here doing this. We did take a little vacation this spring. Went to New Orleans. I've always wanted to go there, so we did that. Spent a week down there. And luckily we have family members live close enough that they can take care of the critters while we're gone. Right now we're starting to get into the gardening season, and you know, I don't make any money at this, YouTube or farming, either one. But farming is something you have to have a passion for. Do I think I'll be able to make money farming? Eventually, maybe several years from now. But I think the cows are my key to that, and maybe even the goats. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The projects are a little overwhelming because I have so many projects. You know, every once in a while I sit down and I think that this ain't gonna work. This just isn't gonna work. But you know, I sit there and think about it for a while. My wife reminds me that this is what I always wanted to do. And she's still working a day job, which is beneficial. Our monthly expenses do have to be paid. You know, insurance, electric, stuff like that. Fortunately, we own the farm free and clear, so that's not an issue. And I spent a lot. I saved up a lot of money in my last year of working to buy my livestock and my fencing materials. I need to get back to building some fence. I need to get back to expanding my pasture area. You know, I need to finish this fence around the house. I need to finish working on that sawmill building. I need to get me a sorghum shed built where we can make sorghum under cover of a roof. I need to build me a barn to store my hay. And we don't typically hire these projects done. Now this driveway is going to be an exception to that rule. But so when you retire, what is retirement? Retirement's doing what you want to do, I think. And these are things that I want to do. Keeps me busy, keeps me going. And I love every minute of it because, you know, this is my place of work. And how can you ask for a better place to work? I mean, this beats being stuck in a building all day long or on a job site that demands you to be there from these hours, you know, certain hours. Beats standing in a factory working on things. I love every minute of it, and every day is different. You know, the livestock will throw a curveball at you every once in a while. You know, like when we had the floodwaters this past weekend, became imminent to move those goats a little early. I didn't want to move them quite that early. I wanted to leave them where they were for a couple more weeks, but they cleaned up that area pretty good. Cleaned it up enough that you know, Liza, my granddaughter, and I. We went in there and we picked up all those rocks that would be detrimental to a lawnmower. And we picked up a bunch of brush and piled it up, and so we can burn that off. And then I can now get in there and mow that area. And we have a project for that area. So you'll have to stay tuned and see what we got going on there. But gosh, this just is a wonderful life. And hope y'all stick around, keep watching us, ask us questions, leave us comments, tell us what we do that you like, tell us what we do that you don't like. But until the next video, I wish you all well.